After her father died, Leah returned to work within 2 days. She organized the funeral, handled family affairs, and stayed busy with her daily responsibilities. Everyone praised her for being so composed. But months later, she began experiencing insomnia, irritability, and unexplained fatigue. Still, she hadn't cried, not once. Deep down, she felt numb and disconnected. Leah started to wonder if something was wrong with her. She later learned that she was experiencing absent grief, a form of grief that hides beneath the surface and often goes unnoticed. Welcome to this mini-series on understanding the language of grief, loss, and trauma. My name is Nathalie Himmelrich. I'm a somatic practitioner, psychological therapist, educator, and author, specializing in grief and trauma, and the host of the How to Deal with Grief and Trauma podcast. Grief and trauma are deeply human experiences, yet many of us struggle to describe what we are going through or to understand what others are facing. The vocabulary of loss is vast, varied, and sometimes overwhelming. In this short podcast episode series, we'll explore the different types of grief, loss, and trauma that people encounter throughout life. Each mini-episode serves both as an educational tool and a compassionate companion for anyone trying to make sense of their own experience with grief, loss, and trauma, or someone who is supporting someone else who is. These terms are more than labels. They are doorways into greater understanding, healing, and connection. Whether you are a bereaved parent, a caregiver, a therapist, or someone walking alongside a grieving friend or someone who's experienced trauma, these bite-sized episodes aim to give you language, insight, and tools. Each one includes a definition, some key considerations, an explanation of why it matters, relevant podcast episodes, and frequently asked questions that I have been asked by my clients and you, the listener of the podcast. And my answers are all grounded in both professional and lived experience. So let's begin. Absent grief refers to the experience of showing little or no outward signs of grief following a significant loss. It is not necessarily the absence of feeling, but can be the suppression or delay of emotional expression. Often misunderstood, absent grief may stem from shock, avoidance, cultural expectations, or emotional shutdown. People experiencing absent grief may appear emotionally unaffected or overly composed, which can lead to others and themselves to assume they've moved on. In reality, the emotions may be buried beneath the surface or compartmentalized. Some individuals remain in practical or caretaking roles during a crisis or never fully shift into personal mourning. Others may have learned from early life that showing emotions is unsafe or unacceptable. Without space or permission to grieve, the process may remain stalled. Absent grief can cause long-term emotional and physical distress if unacknowledged. It may manifest as chronic stress, relationship difficulties, anxiety, or health issues over time. Recognizing absent grief allows individuals to approach themselves with curiosity rather than judgment and seek safe, supportive spaces to connect with their emotions. It also challenges the myth that grief must look a certain way to be valid. Similarly to what I've mentioned in a previous episode on delayed grief, quite a few of the interviewees of the How to Deal with Grief and Trauma podcast realized when talking about more recent losses that they didn't fully grieve the historical losses and that their grief was absent at the time. Further conversation may include stories of people who seemed fine but later discovered their grief was buried, as well as insights from therapists on how to recognize and gently invite hidden grief to the surface. So here are some of the questions. Is it bad if I didn't cry after the loss? Not necessarily. Everyone grieves differently. What matters is whether you've had the space to feel and process your emotions in your own time and way. In a future episode, we'll cover the difference between the two main different styles of grieving. Next question. Why do I feel numb instead of sad? As I've said before, numbness is often a protective response. It may be your body's way of shielding you from overwhelming pain, especially if the loss was traumatic or came on top of other stressors in your life. One of the listeners sent in a question, how can I tell if I'm experiencing absent grief? So if you haven't acknowledged or felt emotions related to your loss, or are noticing signs like irritability, physical tension, insomnia, or emotional detachment, it may be a sign of hidden grief. So what helps uncover absent grief? It can be done via gentle self-inquiry, journaling, therapy, rituals, or creating space to remember and honor the person who died. Sometimes simply being asked, how are you really doing with the loss? Opens the door. Another interesting question is absent grief more common in certain people? Yes, it can be. People raised in emotionally suppressive environments, or caregivers, or those expected to stay strong, often experience absent grief. Cultural norms may also discourage open grieving. In the next episode, we're looking at inhibited grief, so stay tuned. I hope this episode has helped you feel more grounded in the language of loss, grief, or trauma, and maybe even offered you some clarity, validation, or insight into your own experience or the experience of someone you care about. Grief and trauma are deeply personal, yet universal. When we can name what we're feeling, we take one powerful step closer to healing and the integration of our experience back into our life. If this series resonates with you, I invite you to keep exploring. You'll find more resources, courses, and ways to work with me at nathaliehimmelrich.com. And of course, you're always welcome to revisit any of the episodes whenever you need a gentle reminder that you're not alone. Until next time, take good care of your heart.